Welcome to the Action Item Podcast. Meet your hosts, Trevor Hunter and Leo Lopez.
What's going on, guys? This is the Action Item Podcast with Trevor Hunter and Leo Lopez.
I'm Leo Lopez.
He is. This is the video that we've been mentioning that we're going to make for a while. This is the questions that you guys have actually asked us on the website. We've got a selection of them here, and we're just going to go through them one by one, answer them to the best of our ability. And that sound good to you, Leo?
That sounds good to me.
Good deal. Jake is asking, how often should he be checking his business finances to make sure everything runs smoothly?
Jake Morrison, very good. That's a good question. I think this probably comes on the tail or the heel of our finances episode about kind of auditing and maximizing. Yep. Do you want to start?
I'm going to say a lot. I mean, I don't know that checking is the right word, but a consistently constant awareness of it. Do you agree with that? Like, do you know how much is in your checking accounts in your head?
I don't, but I will tell you this. I will tell you that there should be a daily go check your account, or most online banking, services can provide you email notifications if a major deposit is made or a major withdrawal is made, or even your daily balance. And I know Chase does that. I know there's others that do that. I don't know if everybody does that. But first and foremost, I would say there should be a daily check. Now, are you doing a complete audit of all transactions every day? Absolutely not. But take a quick look. Maybe look at a few transactions. Make sure that there is not something out of the ordinary. I don't think you would spend more than 120 seconds doing this, but I do that 100%. Now, at minimum, I would say there should be a weekly report of some kind. And I don't know if you're doing your own. I don't know if Jake, you're doing your own finances or if you have a bookkeeper. But either way, you should be on a weekly basis doing kind of a review of here's my revenue, here's my what invoices, here's my expenses, and what categories they fall into. You should at least be looking at that on a weekly basis.
I think
that would be my take.
Yeah, I think I may be a bit different than some because I'm a numbers guy. So I don't necessarily look at it often, but I know exactly what it is. Like, I know what days what bill is coming out of each account, and basically I can glance at account balances at the end of the day, and I know if something's not right or not, if something's wrong or not. But I don't know that everybody does that. Like, if they spend $100 here and then $170 here and did $240 there, I don't know if they're logging those in their head throughout the day. That may not be the way everybody operates. So I would say I agree with you. It should be a very consistent. You should not be surprised ever by your finances.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's you should check them however frequently so that they never surprise you.
Absolutely.
That's a good benchmark there.
Yep, definitely. Agreed.
Samantha says she loved our latest episode. Unfortunately, I don't know which episode that was. Probably not the book episode. And said
the famous book episode. Our book fail episode.
It had 5 whole viewers. But she said, do you think businesses fail because they're slow to adopt new tech?
Wow. I am excited to jump on this one. Do you want to take it? You want me to take it?
Go ahead, because I'm going to have a surprising answer, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, look, I will tell you. Obviously, businesses fail for a variety of reasons. We talked about this in, I think, our inaugural episode. It's not just about technology. It's economics. It's positioning. There's a lot of factors. There's financing. But one thing I will say that the businesses that are slow to adopt new tech will fall behind. Because look, at the end of the day, unless you are you have the monopoly on a certain service, you are in competition. And so the slower you are to adopt new tech, there is a competitor who's already 10 steps ahead of you. And yes, you can potentially fail because you did not adopt to newer technology. So absolutely, you've got to kind of stick with what's happening in the world of technology and how this can benefit your business, and always keep in mind your competitors, of course. And, how can I stay at a level where I don't fall behind? Because it can be catastrophic in certain circumstances.
Yeah, I agree. That's where
Blockbuster, anyone, CD manufacturing, VHS manufacturers,
exactly. Me being the tech guy, it's probably obvious that I would think that yes, but I don't think so. I think that's a crutch that a lot of businesses lean on, is that they didn't adopt new tech, so that's why they failed. But I think it's so much more than that. My answer is exactly what you said. To be fair, I agree with every single thing you said. It's so much more than just adopting new tech. But if you don't adopt the tech, you're going to fall behind. Like I said, you nailed my answer, but I assumed you thought my answer was going to be that yes.
Well, and I got to tell you, man, I don't know. Kodak. Explain Kodak to me as kind of their failing versus, how is that not adopting technology? Because
Kodak didn't fail.
Right.
No, I found this out recently. I don't remember what it is, but Kodak is like the main producer of something that still exists today, and
they pivoted, though. Right?
Absolutely.
I think I use the example of saying they pivoted, and which is
exactly what you should do. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's funny that there's a lot of companies that have existed. Blockbuster, mentioned, is definitely one of them that did not adapt, but they did try. Now that's an interesting conversation too. Blockbuster did a digital mailing out movie type situation, and I believe they even tickled with the streaming aspect. I don't know where that went.
Interesting. Interesting.
I think they had too much infrastructure, probably.
Yeah.
They had too much infrastructure, too many assets. They couldn't get out in front of that, probably, even though, because operational, I can't imagine they had thousands of stores, so I can't imagine what that operational expense looked like. So even though they were trying to stay above water, it was a downhill struggle.
So if not failing to adopt new technology, then what? You're saying that's a crutch. A crutch for what? What are they? Then what's the real reason behind it? Just poor leadership?
If I had to give it one thing, not knowing where you are, not knowing where your business actually is in the grand scheme of things. I think that is probably the problem for most businesses. They're either charging a high price and they're not a high price service. They're not aligned with what they're not yet. Their mindset for what they have is not aligned with the public's. And
Gotcha.
And when that happens, it's very hard to succeed.
Yep. Agreed. Let's keep moving right along, I think.
All right.
Try to get to as many questions as we can.
Alex said, I'm a freelance graphic designer struggling to find steady gigs. Do you have any advice?
All right, I went first last time. So
okay. This one's hard. It's a race to the bottom for graphic designers as far as cost goes. You've got to do things special. Social media, you've got to stand out from the crowd. You look at guys like Made by James, and he has an awesome following. He's an awesome designer. He does fantastic logo designs. But the moment that came into my head, he was the first guy that I thought of. And that's what you have to be in the graphic design world. or you have to do something local and do it well and do it affordably.
I would agree. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say I would agree with everything you said. Look, I think that this is definitely a struggle for those of us in the business services realm. I think the challenge with graphic design is that more and more we are seeing AI and Canva and all of these, this plethora of tools for creatives are taking over. And so, if you're a graphic designer and you're passionate about that, when the market's flooded with this, that's a huge challenge. So I think to your point, if you're in a market or service that's just saturated, because it is, right? I mean, I think, then you either have to do something specialized or very niche, or you've got to do it better and cheaper than everyone else. And so, or both. And so I think that, going back to this, obviously there's tactics to start looking at, are you working from previous clients? Are you leveraging your network from the center all the way out to your outer network? I don't know what kind of marketing budget you have, if anything. But I will finish my thoughts with one simple thing too. And it might not be what you want to hear, but honestly, at this point, the people who are more successful are the people who are cross-functionalized. And I think, you can't be a watchmaker or just X. So if you're a graphic designer, how do you augment your skills or experience to go beyond that? And I think the more you have in terms of, or gain experience across a variety of different services, the better off you are. And so it may be that you're a graphic designer. Look, at the end of the day, think about opportunities not as gigs, as just revenue. So maybe you make revenue because you flip hats, or you drop ship here, or you're a graphic designer here, or you're doing that. I think the days of having one job, everybody's got some kind of hustle going on.
Yep.
So it's hard in this business. It really is, to find more opportunities. I do think that AI is going to make it even harder at this point for folks who are in the creative to be as successful. So
I agree.
Or
but I do have
learn the AI,
There
right?
you
And exactly. So
I do have one more thing for the graphic designer. Pair the graphic design with a product. Be the best damn business card designer on the planet and sell them. Sell the design and the business card and get clients that way. Do flyers, do door hangers. Find a niche that you can do really well. Find a great print provider and do something. Do menus. Do something that pairs the graphic design with the tangible print item, because now that's something that's quite hard for AI to do, because AI doesn't do text well. And you have to, when you go in to build a menu, there's a lot of thought that goes into building a menu, for example. Like you have to, it's like, well, I've got 74 items on this menu that needs to fit on 2 pages. That's a challenge. But if you can find a niche like that and dive into it, that's a particular space. Trying to do everything might not be the path.
Yep, definitely. Agree. Next question.
Derek Stone in Dallas says that he details cars and can't seem to get customers coming back. What suggestions? Go ahead, Leo.
Wow. So listen, when I first read this, customers not coming back, I don't want to offend, Derek, but there is definitely a level of dissatisfaction here.
Probably so, yeah.
That is probably driving this. And I don't know what that may be. I obviously don't have the full scope of how you deliver service, what the expectations are, but I think the first place to start is you got to understand the why. Maybe they're not happy with your service, or if they are, maybe it's finances. I mean, we're obviously, in a very, concerning economy right now on a variety of different levels. So, car detailing, of course, is a specialized service. I wouldn't say that this isn't necessary like renting groceries. So there is a little of aspect of kind of a luxury purchase, where people are using their disposable income. So now one thing I would highly suggest doing is, if you're focused on getting gigs or finding clients, there should also be a focus on maintaining repeat revenue. And that can manifest itself as email campaigns or even social campaigns or even, direct outreach to your clients with a survey. So do you have a post-client survey so you can get an idea of what they are? If you have a list of your clients that you've assisted, can you text them or email them an offer that, hey, as an existing client, or hey, it's been 90 days since your last detail, time for a detail. So I would say that you want to look into tactics and strategies to create repeat revenue, or basically monetizing your existing customer base. And again, I think there's a lot of tools and knowledge out there, but grab HubSpot, which is completely free, put your list of clients in there, and then start looking up, tactics for repeat revenue, post customer survey ideas, things of that nature, because there's definitely something going wrong there. There should, even if it was one, there should have been somebody coming back.
Yep.
So that's my 2 cents.
Well, as Leo knows, I have worked with one or two mobile detailers. So we actually kind of specialized with them for quite a while, and so we've worked with a ton of them. So if you don't have people coming back, it's actually that industry is one of the easier industries to get people to come back. So when I read this, I was with Leo completely. If you don't have people coming back, there's a problem. And, whether the service was too much, most of what Leo said, I'm completely on board with. The bit that might be something that's missing is there are some apps where you can enter your customer's information in and it maps it out for you, and you can put tomorrow's projects in there. And if you don't want to pay for an app, use Google Maps or whatever and do places, drop pins on Google Maps for everywhere that a client or a customer cars was. And, if you're going to this area tomorrow and you've got 2 pins over here, call those 2 guys up and go, hey, I'm going to be in your area tomorrow around 10 o'clock. You want me to knock out your car? I did it 90 days ago, like he said. And then you can turn a $200 day into potentially, you can knock them out and do them let's say offer them a special, I'll do it for $1.50 or whatever's a discount for you. And then you have, that immediacy, and you'll find a lot of times where they'll be like, oh yeah, come on, the car's dirty. I mean, the car's always dirty, to be fair.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. Especially in Dallas. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So, there's definitely some strategies that need to be put into place. But first place is I would look at why they're not coming back. And maybe even call them. Seriously, people can be pretty nice for the most part. Call the guy that from, 90 days ago and go, hey, or maybe not that soon. Maybe go farther back. And touch base with them and go, hey, do you mind if I pick your brain for a minute? I'm just getting started. I'm having be honest, hat in hand. I'm having a hard time keeping customers coming back. I thought you were happy. Would you mind letting me know why you haven't called me back again? No hard feelings. I'm just so I can learn. You'd be surprised that it's coming at a customer that way, how many times they'll be really honest with you but you have to park your ego. You have to set your ego aside and not get defensive as soon as they start telling you exactly what the hell you just asked them to tell you. That's the most important part.
Yep. I think you hit the nail on the head. Believe it or not, being genuine, being vulnerable, being honest, goes a long way in customer experience.
Absolutely.
You know, it goes further than BS. It goes further than canned responses. You know, it shows a genuine interest in the experience of the customer. So absolutely, 100%.
All right, next question. This one's going to be for you, Bethany.
For me.
Yep, Bethany Clark. The podcast on grants was super helpful, but I need more details. Can you help?
So, you know, I think that we don't have, I think the email, right, for Bethany. So
No, I
Bethany,
did not capture email. I just gave him the ability to upload a question.
If you're not, if you're listening, you know, contact us, reach out to us, and you know, I'm happy to talk one-on-one and help brainstorm ideas for you. Look, you know, I will tell you, you can go into ChatGPT or you can go into even Google and just look for grants for my startups. I mean, look, I'm going to, you know, I don't know every single grant that there is. And frankly, there's a combination of government grants, and those you're going to find on the SBA.gov business. That's where you're going to find, or website, I'm sorry. That's where you're going to find the details on what grants are available. And let me tell you, this is going to require some research because you have a lot of government grants out there that are available for small businesses, for startups. There's women-owned, minority-owned, like, I mean, you name it. There's rural, I mean, so you got to put in some research to get into the details. And I'm not specialized in this area in terms of financing businesses. So I will tell you, you know, this in truth is also discovery for me, but I can tell you definitively, and I have looked into these, that they exist. The SBA will also direct you to financial companies or banks that work with the SBA to process these. So the SBA itself isn't the bank. So feel free to reach out to your current bank or your local business bank that you might find that's close to you. It does not hurt to sit down and have a conversation with them. Whether or not there's an opportunity or not, sit down with them. You will find a person that is going to be eager to talk to you if they think there's an opportunity to help you with this aspect of your business. So absolutely sit down, talk with the financial institution on that. Now, outside of government grants, there's obviously private grants, right? And so this is where we get into the banks' loans. Like, they have their own programs, and banks have different programs. There's no shortage of them. I mean, I just Googled grants for startups, and, you know, there's Grantify.ao, there's Fundera, where you can actually directly apply for the SBA 7A loan, which is essentially a startup loan that's government sponsored or supported. You know, Startup Accelerator, a lot of companies out there. So look, there's an overwhelming amount of grants and opportunities there. I would say, again, sorry about that noise, we have to cut that out. There's a plethora of different grant sources out there. Start with your U.S. Small Business Administration. Start with your local Chamber of Commerce. And I think we talked a little bit about this when we had this episode about there's so many resources out there that if you don't dig, you wouldn't have ever known that they exist. I mean, just within my location, obviously I have the Pasadena SBA. The local community college has a business office that is open to the community. You don't have to be a student to walk in and talk to somebody. You know, the SBA has the SCORE program, which is the program for retired executives that will connect you with someone to mentor you. So I would say, rather than getting navigated through the grant process and going through this overwhelming, bring it back down to the community, your local bank, your local offices, and the SBA website. And that is a good way to start the process to see what you can be matched with.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yep, definitely, for sure. There's a lot out there,
well,
and it's hard to weed through.
Also, I'm assuming that you're cool with somebody contacting you, right?
100%.
All right, so go to the website and scroll to the bottom, and you'll see Leo's pretty face down there, and under his face has a LinkedIn icon. Click it, you go straight to his page.
You should see my catfish profile pic on that, and yeah, definitely go ahead and contact me. I'm happy to dive in more, and I'd love to hear about what you're doing with your business idea.
So you said something that has hit a nerve, not what you said, but with me lately on social media. I know I'm getting off topic for a second. I'm sorry. But coaches and mentors. So today, there seems to be this massive influx of people that think they're a coach or a mentor. They're going to charge you to mentor you or coach you. And every single time, and I don't mean sometimes, I mean every single one that I've seen where I'm like, hey, curious if they're legit. Because if I'm on social media, I'm screwing off. I'm not being productive. So it's fine for me to go and screw off here. And I go and look at them, and I go and I do the things that I know how to do. In 30 seconds, I realize that they're absolutely full of shit. Completely. They've never built anything. The only thing they've built is a website and a social media environment that proposes how successful they can be. But they haven't. And yet, some of these... So this came on my radar a few days ago, maybe a week or so ago. Somebody asked, who's paying $100,000 for coaching? And I thought to myself, nobody. Because let's be fair, if you can afford a $100,000 business coach, you don't need a business coach. Like, that's just that's the way that is. So I dug some digging, and I found the page that this lady was talking about, and the guy had a $100,000 package, a $50,000 package, and a $600 ebook, or a $600 course. And I read through the comments and was totally mind blown that nobody saw exactly what was happening there.
Yep.
All he's really trying to sell is the $600 course. Nobody's ever going to pay 50 or 100 grand, but those two price points make this look like it's more valuable. That's it. That's all that's happening.
It's a shame. There's definitely a lot of bad actors out there purporting to be life coaches, business coaches, or kind of get rich quick. I will just make a quick note, though. If you go through the SBA, if you go through the chamber, they don't just let anybody sign up to be a mentor. There's a vetting process.
Well, those if I'm not mistaken, are those mentors going to charge you?
Not through the SBA program.
Right. The mentors that are the most valuable mentors and coaches that you can ever have are the old guys that have made a whole bunch of money, and they're not going to charge you anything. They're just going to help you because they're seeing a young up-and-comer, and they want to impart their wisdom on you. I had one. I had an old guy that retired from Florida and retired up here, and he showed me the ropes when I was like in my early 20s, told me all the legal shit that I needed to know. Yep. He never charged me a dime. Yep. That's what the value is. Sorry.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get off my soapbox.
You bring up a good point. Be wary of the oracles and folks here. Now, again, I'm not saying that everybody who's a private consultant is that. I'm just saying, definitely be wary of what you're seeing, especially on social media.
I don't think consulting and what I'm talking about is the same thing.
Yeah. I agree.
I'm talking about the people that prey on... I have a big problem with preying on people who are spending their rent check to try to get something next.
Yeah.
And when that's your goal, Yeah. So, okay, let's. I'll jump back on task here.
Cool little segue.
Yeah. That hit a nerve for me. All right, so Nicole Harding said, "How can a small player like me compete with the big businesses in my area?" I like that question.
I do too. That hits home. That's very close to home, but I'll explain why. But go ahead. You go first.
I think a small player has a huge advantage in an area when compared to big businesses for a lot of reasons. A big business is, ironically enough, a big business has processes and systems and everything that we tell you that you need, but they're typically fixated on those and they don't deviate much. So a small guy can get in there, make a customer very, very happy, do amazing work, and charge less overall because they don't have the overhead that the big business has. Now, can you, as a small business, charge the same as the big business? Probably not. But you shouldn't. The big business is paying for a $21,000 a month warehouse and all those other things that they have to factor into their billing. You don't. So as a small business, bring your price down to a point where you're massively competitive, deliver exceptional quality and service. And that's how you outshine the big businesses. And you do a lot of good marketing with a reputable company.
Yep. Look, I think that it's interesting because you say that as a small business, you should charge more, or maybe you're not in a position to charge more than big business. And sometimes I think in some cases you might be able to get away with it if it's a very intimate and bespoke solution that you're offering. I don't know what business she's building.
I don't either.
But I'll give you my perspective, and we talked a little bit earlier about this, in the graphic design question, I think, is when you are up against a sea of whales, right? And you're that small fish in, the small fish in the big pond, sort of, so to speak, and you're surrounded by these large whale, providers or competition. First and foremost, I will always go back to specialization and niche, right? A lot of the big businesses are usually built for a wide array of customer types or service types. And so, you want to go as specific as you can. And it doesn't mean that you only do one aspect of your product or service. It can also be that you serve a specific community. Maybe you are the queen of your suburb. I mean, again, it's about specialization. It's about being able to differentiate yourself from your competitor, and definitely do your research on your bigger competition to see how they do things. And I'll give you some real life examples. A lot of big businesses in my industry have long-term contracts, they bill for this, they bill for that. So, you can differentiate yourself by saying, I don't have that. Like, you don't need to do this. Like, my solution is customized. My solution is more intimate. And I think, we've even talked about this ourselves. This is like, there's this McDonaldization happening so much now with disposable goods and kind of cookie cutter stuff, and everybody's trying to vie for attention. Any way you can find to differentiate yourself is the way that you're going to be able to pull business from those companies. I think my second point is also the agility of being a smaller business. Can be a huge. It does put you at a certain disadvantage to be small, but your agility is your advantage, because I've worked for larger corporations, and I think to Trevor's point, if I want to change something, like, let's just say, hey, I want to extend our hours of operation from 9 to 6 to 9 to 7 to accommodate customers, I've got to go get the data, bring it together, go to my boss, My boss needs to go to his boss, and his boss needs to go to his or her boss, and it's a process. And a lot of these big
and 6 weeks
businesses-
later, you actually
Yeah.
might get the yes, exactly.
6 weeks is when you act. Yeah, no, I mean, 6 weeks would be pretty agile for a big business, honestly, because I think, oh, well, that's not priority. We're going to put it in a queue.
Oh,
so,
is that right?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's going to go on a ticket. So if you've worked in big corporations, you understand this. I mean, it is part of the disadvantage. I mean, yes, it's important to have a little bit of this bureaucracy where there's oversight and procedures, but most of the time these businesses have a level of bureaucracy to get anything done. You don't have that. You can make the decision on the fly, and that is also another advantage of the smaller businesses, where you can outmaneuver the big business competitors in your agility to be able to change, to do things faster and better. But again, this is not an easy road, but those are the ways that you're going to be able to attract some market share. And again, for you, any amount of that market share is obviously going to be beneficial.
Yep. To your point on the agility, the ability for I have it happen quite often where one of a small client will call me up and go, "Hey, I'm going to add this new service to what we're doing," and they woke up this morning or they saw yesterday something that made them decide to do that. By lunchtime, it's added to their website. By 2:00, it's on their Google business profile, and they're into their social media campaign for the next few days. And from 9 to 3:00, it was thought of, figured out, and executed. If you were a big company, yeah, exactly. It takes so long.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
all right. The next question we've got: Jordan Saunders or Sanders? Do you guys do one-on-one or workshops? Really need more of what you're offering? That's what it's going to be for you there, Leo.
For me,
I think you
don't
actually
do one-on-ones, man. Like
I don't. I might do some eventually, but at this time, the rest of this year is pretty full up for me.
pretty booked for you.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, reach out to me on the website. You can find me on LinkedIn. Reach out to connect. I love talking shop with folks. I love meeting new people and having genuine, fruitful business connections. So I'm always happy to help however I can, and to the best of my ability. So don't hesitate to reach out.
A workshop. I don't want to. When I think of a workshop, I think of a large audience, which is essentially what we do right now. So I don't know if is that something different.
Maybe, there are workshops, and it doesn't have to be a massive audience, but there's definitely the workshops that are, you bring in multiple participants in a Zoom or other technology to go over a topic and then have a more interactive question and answer.
Okay.
So the workshop's a little bit more interactive. And
Okay.
I'm not doing workshops right now. I am looking towards starting to do some workshops in the future, but right now, just really trying to focus a little bit more on content like this to get out to a much broader audience. But again, like I said, I do genuinely appreciate more one-on-one connections with people. I find them more valuable, so please hit me up and reach out.
And to be fair, I absolutely do. I welcome connections, and if you have a question directly for me or something, hit the LinkedIn or one of my other socials and drop me a message. I just don't have the time now to commit to a consulting project. But I'm always happy to answer a question or something. But I think you actually are doing consulting, taking on clients for consulting, correct?
I am actively taking clients for consulting. And again, if it's just questions or you want to, my initial consultation is at no charge. Honestly, I really, if there's an opportunity to provide somebody with tangible work and deliverables, results, that's where we can talk about that. If you have a couple of questions, like you said, you can ping me if you are really struggling and want to sit down and talk, we can talk about that too.
And I'll tell you guys, he's really good.
Lies. Speaking of really good, I gotta go pick up my kid. Otherwise, I'm gonna be a bad father. So
All right. You want to pick one of the last 3 questions and just pick one and go with it, or is that all you got time for?
Let's see here. What's last 3 questions? Oh my God, I think I've got to take this one. So Mark Wallace reached out and says, running a business is tough on my mental health. How do you guys handle stress and avoid burnout? This resonates with me a lot because you may not realize it, but I've struggled with anxiety and general anxiety disorder, pretty much my entire life. And so being in business for myself for the last 5 years, and having worked in corporate for 30 years, I mean, there's definitely been no shortage of stressful opportunities. And, there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score. I forgot the author, but, you can find this readily available. Talks about how not only does your current stress and anxiety affect you, but what you've carried your entire life, whether it's childhood, whether it's traumas, whether it's just, the last few years of work. And so yeah, it is tough. It is draining. One thing I will say, and this is something that people don't do, and I'm guilty of it, is, Trevor just came back from his 2 weeks of vacation, of being away from it. And whether or not that's a luxury that you have or not, there's got to be a way to disconnect. I mean, there is just no other way around it. They say, I think mental health professionals say that for every 6 months of work, for every 3 months of work, for every quarter, you should be taking at least a week off. And most companies, most companies only offer 2 weeks annual vacation. So you kind of got to figure out how to pick that. But I think more companies now are starting to learn that that's just not enough, especially if you are and if you're in business for yourself. So number one answer is you have to make a space for disconnection. And I'm talking about complete disconnection. You shut off your cell phone or whatever you need to do to get away from it all, even if it's just a weekend, or even if you can't afford to be gone for 2 weeks, space it out, piggyback on holidays, do what you got to do. But just as hard as you work on your business, you need to put effort into taking a rest, because your mental health is the fulcrum. It's the cornerstone of every aspect of your life, your business and your personal life. And, this is something that when I do leadership development courses with people, we do a priority exercise where we say, prioritize your well-being versus career, versus spouse, versus family, and rank those in order of 1 to 4. And almost everybody ranks self-care as dead last. And like I tell everybody, self-care needs to be number 1, because all other aspects of your life will fail if you're going to go in a straitjacket and put in a padded room. And if you think that's not funny, because actually I have seen people have breakdowns. I mean, there is no, mental health is a huge, huge issue. And culturally, we've always kind of buried it under the carpet. So number 1, take that time off. There are other things that you can also do. One, you should have some kind of creative outlet. It can't be business all the time. As you can see, I play guitar. I'm a musician, so that helps me as an outlet for my rage and constant stress, right? So that can be exercise, that can be walking, that could be drawing, that could be like anything that's a hobby, anything that's not work related, even building stuff, whatever you do. There should be a creative outlet for you to do, because that also de-stresses you. I personally practice meditation and mindfulness. A lot of people think it's very hokey, but I'll tell you, it's far more simpler and not as metaphysical. And it's just basically about being in touch with yourself, your surroundings, and taking a moment to basically kind of put your mind in idle mode, so to speak. You know, you can definitely look into those. I mean, I try to practice daily. I'm not perfect, but I think that it definitely can help. You know, and then I will tell you lastly, if you're in a crisis, if you've reached burnout point, I mean, you know, hopefully you can find a way to disconnect. But surprisingly enough, they say sometimes that if you're under duress, if you do the most menial things, you will find some relief. So when I've had situations like this client that's possibly pulling out because they're not in agreement with the whole financial arrangements, which did, you know, sank, you know, my heart sank to my stomach when I saw his email, right? These are, you know, this impacts my business. Wash dishes, sweep the floor, go out, dig a hole. Absolutely mindless, menial, you know, take a stick and whittle it with a knife, like whatever is some kind of like doing absolutely nothing. Believe it or not, chores, laundry, all that kind of stuff that's boring, absolutely boring, will help you process, will help you, will distract you, will take your mind. So, you know, this is a huge issue in corporate America. This is a huge issue for entrepreneurs. Thank you for bringing that up, Mark.
Good deal.
So, very cool.
Cool deal. Well, I don't think we have an action item for this week. Not.
Yeah, no, these are questions. So, you know, keep them coming, guys. We appreciate the feedback. So, you know, reach out anytime. I think, you know, we've made some updates to the website, so we can definitely respond directly back to you.
I don't think we've made them yet. And when I say we, I don't think I have made them yet, but I will.
Okay, so
by the time this goes live.
Gotcha. So definitely. So Trevor will make sure that is updated because again, we do love to hear from you. Get your feedback, questions, and you know, if you've got any, we've got a lot of ideas about what we want to share with you. But if you have a specific topic that you're not hearing about and are eager to hear about, let us know.
Yep. And don't read it, but we'll leave them on a little bit of a cliffhanger. The next question, I think, needs to be our next episode.
Wow. Really? I've got to look at this. Okay. Very cool. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you to everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for listening.
See y'all.